All right. So, welcome back to another episode of New Reader, Old Reader. Or Old Reader, New Reader. One or the other. It
Whatever.
all
You're
works.
fine.
We're still here. It's still getting here. So thanks for hanging in there. I know we moved the show again on you, but thank you guys for being patient. I was sick. There's a lot going on, so we're still here, still talking about Rachel Rising. So Rachel Rising was pretty amazing. It's a very Buffy-esque book. Basically, it's your typical story. This girl gets murdered. She wakes up. She's not dead anymore. Looks really weird though. Trying to figure that out and what that means. So yeah, that's the quick and dirty. I read this a couple weeks ago and I was really glad to pick it up. Amanda just finished it. Omar's
Yep.
read it before and he did a reread and owns the omnibus, which I'm already very jealous of, even though I've just picked up this book and I'm already obsessed to the nines about Rachel Rising and upset that it's not a TV show already. But we'll get more to that. So, Amanda, how much did you love this book?
How much I love it? I absolutely
Yes.
loved the whole thing. Um, so basically, while I was thinking about this for our, we were talking about this. Since it's Rachel Rising, we should all have alliterations for our names. I could be Amazing Amanda. She could be Marvelous Maddie, and Omar can be Obnoxious Omar. Um,
No.
uh,
Uh, I, I do have a
um,
funny story about that though. When I was on a job interview, uh, they were like, "Describe yourself in one word that starts with your name."
Ugh.
I
yeah.
remember all the way back in high school where I gave myself a funny name. I got kicked out of class, like Orgasm Omar. And the whole time during this job interview, I'm like, don't say orgasm. Don't say orgasm. And I can't even remember what I said. Maybe outstanding. I sold out. But anyway, continue, Amanda.
Sorry, guys, my daughter's here until my husband comes home from school. Anyways, so yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed Rachel Rising. As you guys all know, if you've seen any of the previous episodes, you've seen my shelves. I'm a huge Buffy fan. So, blonde girl who has to fight some supernatural beings at some point is a double thumbs up in my book. I really liked all the characters. I thought there were some interesting characters. I was in the ending left a lot of stuff open ended. There were some loose threads that I was kind of disappointed weren't wrapped up, but that could be because Terry Moore wants to finish this either as a comic or in some other medium at some point. We don't know. But overall, I truly enjoyed where this comic went and the storyline. It was definitely something that I wasn't expecting, especially when it got towards the middle of it. I just didn't know where this was going to turn out. I didn't know where the story was heading, and I thought it was going to be. So I've read a lot of Charlene Harris. For those of you who don't know who that author is, she wrote
Oh
the
yeah.
True Blood series and some other Graveyard Shift or something like that. And I thought it'd be something more like serial, like of that nature. Whereas this girl who somehow has these supernatural powers and she fights evil, right? So I didn't know going into it what to expect. I thought that would be very much what I would get out of this, but it was so much more. There was a lot of backstory, a lot of intertwined characters, and I love that. Those are my favorite types of stories, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I feel like Terry Moore did a really good job of just giving you little pieces at a time. Just
Yes.
little, like, as we went on, because yeah, it could have gone anyway, right? So I love stories like this. I'm a huge Buffy fan. I'm a huge fan of iZombie, the show. I haven't read the book yet. But these types of things where you have this protagonist who's a little quirky, right? And who's given this a huge supernatural challenge to their life, and now they have to figure out why, a lot of times, and where to go from here. Because she wakes up and she knows that she was murdered. She's got rope marks around her neck, and her eyes are a different color. But she's still alive. She's still got a heartbeat. It's very, very slow. Um, and she knows that, there's something different, right? And she can't die now. But she doesn't know what to do with that. Um, and you think that it would be just her focus on her killer or whatever else, but it turns out to be just a small part of a much, much, much bigger story.
I
And
do
so
want
we're in.
to
Sorry, go ahead.
stop. Sorry for a second to talk about that panel because I think it's worth mentioning how gorgeous it is and how creepy it is when this is the very beginning of the book when she is literally digging herself out of her own grave.
Mm-hmm.
I think Terry Moore. I've read everything else he's done and have been a fan of his art, but I think this is my favorite book he's ever drawn.
It really feels like, and I've already said before how I wish this was a TV show. But
Agreed.
I guess because reading it already kind of felt like I was watching a TV show. And I feel like his art is a big part of that. Because some people with this style, because he does, man, the art's beautiful. And he makes such attractive women. And I don't know how to say,
Yes, he does.
how to describe it other than that, but they're so attractive.
Oh yeah,
But
absolutely.
when
I'm still mad
people,
crushing on Francine
oh
from
my
Strangers
gosh,
in Paradise.
Now,
everybody's
doesn't
just
he
like,
have a book out
That's
called
my
like
type
How
of
to
book.
Illustrate Women? Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm not stealing Omar's topic, guys.
but something I want to touch on real quick. It's not just that they're all so attractive, but every character is so distinctive. And I find with some artists that draw women like this, and I don't think it's the same style as everybody, but who have female characters like this don't know how to draw other characters, don't know how to draw different types of characters. But every woman is so distinct. I
Yes.
can always tell the difference between each character. And I honestly, it was a pretty diverse type of bodies and faces. I was pretty intrigued by that. And I do want to say, I was talking to Omar about it before the show. I am madly in love with Aunt Johnny as a character. I've never seen, I've never really seen a butch woman, you know, a butch lesbian woman in a comic like that. It had such a significant part in the story. Was a big deal for me. I mean, it's a little thing, but it was weird how profound it was. Like I'd never encountered that before. So for me, I was like, oh yes, this is awesome. But yeah, the art, it was great. So Omar, you read this again.
Yeah.
I assume the first time you read it, you were blown away because you had to be. This book's perfect. I can't sing
Um,
its praise enough.
I
But
think I didn't read these as they were coming out. I was reading them in trade paperback format,
mhm.
and I remember some of it dragged a little bit, but I was okay with it because I was used to his style of storytelling from Strangers in Paradise. But the characters kept me intrigued. I fell in love, even with we are going to talk about spoilers, but so
Yeah,
just as a heads up, even with the characters of like Zoe and Lilith, who are supposed to be these evil characters, but they just have so many endearing qualities to them that I can't help but think that Zoe, who is a 10-year-old little girl and who has a passion for killing people,
10,
Yep. 10.
10
Yeah,
years
she's
old, and we'll get to that
10 years
story
old.
here in a second.
but not in
But
the weird
actually,
like Japanese
that's
anime
the
way.
next thing
Like
I
she's
want to
just
talk about
yeah.
is when like her sister comes home and she beats her
Oh, with the
saran wrap
plastic. Jesus.
and then just like smothers her face, and I'm like, okay, that's awesome. Who is this little girl and what?
And at that
And
time, we didn't know
again,
much about her either, because at
no,
that
we
time
didn't.
it could have been it was kind of left up, which again I think is owed to like how great Terry Moore just did of just giving us little hints. But when I first read that part where she does her first kill, I was like,
Mhm.
oh, she must be possessed or something. But
That's what I
then
thought too.
that girl is like, nah, like I just super like killing everybody. I'm like,
Well, I
respect.
mean, and there were some awesome scenes, like the scene with the guy from Child Services or the foster parents, where she kills them, or the guy that's like trying to be her foster parent, and he chases after her in the hospital and gets caught in the elevator, and his head gets cut in the elevator, and he gets cut off. Thought that was
Yeah. Oh
great.
gosh.
Yeah, it was.
I was
A
hooked on it.
lot of great kill scenes in this. I'll tell you that much.
Oh
A lot of
yeah.
good kill
Yeah,
scenes.
and honestly, I wouldn't say gory.
No, not
I
at
don't think it's
all.
gory at all. It's just creepy and in kind of. I guess that's probably due to the slow pacing of the book. It kind of builds the suspense, so maybe that's why I appreciated it a lot more. So that was really cool,
Yeah.
and a lot of characters, honestly, like a huge cast of characters. Because as you read on, so yeah, as Maddie was saying, Rachel from the beginning is rising from her grave. She goes back into town to meet some interesting characters that, for some reason or other, don't end up developing much. And then she sees her friend Jet, and
Jet.
together they're trying to figure out why she's still alive and what's going on. And then she witnesses a woman uh, throw herself off or get pushed out of a building, and then she gets killed again, and then she rises again. So there's this whole mystery as to why she's coming back from the dead in this town. And the town's name is it Manson?
Manson. Yeah,
Yeah.
which
Interesting name.
yeah, right?
And through a series of unfortunate events, her best friend Jet, she ends up dying too. And she also finds out, like these two ladies were saying, that she has the ability to come back from the dead. And it's and her story. I mean, I guess I'll let you two tell a little bit more about where that
Yeah.
leads. But I thought this part was really sweet with the guy that works at the
Earl,
morgue.
right?
Yeah, Earl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though Maddie
Earl.
doesn't trust him.
Well, I did. I trust him wholeheartedly, and I loved him. But
She just thinks there's something else about him.
there definitely is, because there's one scene that was kind of odd, and I hope that if we get more, they'll further explain that. Because he takes off his glasses, he looks in the mirror, but we don't see what he sees, and he also
Yeah.
looks outside and sees the personification of death, right? But the rest of the show, I'm acting like as if I've seen it.
You're writing
It
this
is a
series.
TV show. So.
He's just this sweet guy, and I love his little romance, but
Yeah,
I
he's
don't know.
mad crushing on Jet, even though she's dead, and he's still holding her. I thought that was
But
really sweet.
So
he's the only
respectful,
person
too.
she can feel.
Right.
He's the only person she can
And-
feel.
I thought that was really sweet because, like he said, like that's when he decides to tell her he loves her, like when she's dead, and he's sitting right beside her dead body, and he's holding her hand, and then he realizes, oh shit, this chick has a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Creepy. Somebody asked, how are the kill scenes compared to something like Hit Girl? I would say not. Like Hit Girl is very like over the top violence, like almost just unrealistic violence is what that has. This has realistic shit that could happen to you. I wouldn't necessarily call it gory, but kind of
Descriptive. It's just
Kinda
descriptive.
graphic.
Yes,
Yeah.
graphic. Yeah.
because there are some decapitations and strangulations and things like that, and people
They make it
stabbing,
believable.
burning. But yeah, not over
Lots
the
of
top
slitting
gore.
of throats. Yeah.
Not lots of blood spilling.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Nothing like that.
No.
You
Just
can
enough
tell
to
he
get your
did.
point across.
Yeah. Because some people go too far or don't know how to use it. And I feel like he did it perfectly to aid in the story development, because the story's not about that, even though it's a big part of it, death and dying and murder. But it's about these characters and their development, because each one of them is so multifaceted and diverse. I mean, except for a few like side characters, but even those characters have little sprinkles of like weird about them that Terry gives you a little bit of pinch of, right? Without just enough to be like, wait a second, what is with this guy?
Oh
But-
yeah, this is the scene I was talking about with the decapitation, where she runs in the elevator and the guy's head gets stuck in the elevator and gets cut off. That's awesome.
That was a great scene, yes.
So there's at first it starts off with a small cast of characters, and then it keeps getting bigger and bigger as the mystery is revealed, who these women are and why they keep getting reincarnated. And as it turns out, they are. Who wants to take over from here?
Sure. So we find out they're actually, well, first you think they're witches from, the Salem witch era, right? So we think they're from colonial times and they're witches. Later on, we discover they're even more ancient than that. So that's a spoiler for anyone who hasn't read. So they're almost so Lilith is the first woman, right? Is that what we gathered? Her and then they made Rachel
Yes.
to pretty much be her companion. And Lilith did something bad, and so now Eve became God's favorite child, and all of us are the spawn of Eve, pretty much.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of this. So it turned out from being this supernatural to, this has a lot of religious themes to it that completely were unexpected and lovely and amazing. I really like, but that's how they kind of took it from there with Rachel and Lilith, and they turn out to be sisters in a way, which I think is fascinating.
And then God took away, in return for Lilith kind of betraying him.
Yeah, she
Um,
slept with the devil. Is that what happened?
Yeah, she slept with Lucifer.
Lucifer.
It's
Okay.
interesting. For anybody that watched anime, there was an awesome show called Neon Genesis Evangelion, and anybody that watched that and got your eye fucked by a rusty nail, because that's what the ending felt like. You immediately wanted to know where these characters came from and who they were. And there was a character named Lilith, and that was kind of the big deal. So I remember, like, when that came out, I was like, "What? So what is this about?" And according to like Jewish scripture and stuff like that, that she was the first, she was Adam's first wife,
Yes.
and she kind of like let God down by having sex with one of the angels. Oh my God, he was a villain on the show too. I think it was Samuel, however you say it, one of them. But in this version, in Terry Moore's version, she had sex with Malos.
Oh,
Malos, right?
Matt, did she have sex with Malice?
yeah. I didn't know if that was him or if that
Yeah,
he was
or
just
just
the.
Lucifer.
I always thought
I
she
thought
did,
she
but
made a deal with Malice in order to destroy
Yeah.
Manson. I thought that's why they coexisted or were having their own little issues, was because she made a deal with him, and turns out he just wanted to bring the end of the world, bring hell on earth, and he didn't
maybe.
really care about her revenge on Manson and its descendants.
I could have sworn I thought that she had. Maybe they didn't name it, and I just always assumed it was him or it, whatever
Well,
it
yeah,
is.
I would have assumed it too, yeah, because
Yeah,
he
I don't know
seemed
how much
like the
detail she
devil.
went into.
Yeah, and again,
Yeah.
that's something to be said about the story itself, because we mentioned, we mentioned off the screen how there are a few little dangling threads. That's why we want this to be finished in some way. Like, for instance, um, whenever Aunt Johnny dies, spoiler alert, the Dr. Seaman, I think,
Dr. Seaman, best
Steven,
name ever.
who turns out
oh
to
my
be a
god.
necrophiliac, I guess,
But it's a guy
creeper.
with some of the best quotes in the freaking book. I love his
Still
quotes.
a
Anyway, go ahead.
necrophiliac, but he puts something in her head in case Rachel's plan doesn't work to bring her back to life. And then you get a little hint later on, after Rachel heals Aunt Johnny with the herbs to heal her legs and everything, but she didn't know about the incision, and then Aunt Johnny, like, "Oh, what's that?" And then we never hear about it again.
Yeah, and he's also got that dead wife that he
Yes.
wants to bring back to life, that he's just been keeping the body of and
So,
having sex with.
so creepy. That's
Well, in his defense, it wasn't as good as it used to be.
He mentioned, yeah, right. So he thought, maybe I'll get a more recent corpse, even if she's a lesbian, and I'll try her out. I mean, he's just weird.
Well,
Ugh.
that's what's so good about these extra characters too. Well, it's good and frustrating, right? Because you
It
get
is,
little
yes.
tastes. Sorry. They talk about him a little bit, but they don't resolve things really.
No.
So, like, we've
Yeah.
got him. He's super creepy, and then we've got random shirtless guy on the
Wesley.
stoop of his house, Wesley, who
Yes.
they'll come talk to, and they're looking for people because he seems to always be sitting outside, and he has a good view of people. But also he collects heads in
Yeah,
like,
that was weird.
but no one really talked about it. He joked about it. He's like, "Oh yeah, I've got his head in here," but then no one really looked any more at that at all because
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
And
Um,
Detective Corporal, they kept showing cutscenes of him, and he's going through trying to solve these mysteries, and then did he solve it? Did he give up? We don't know. I don't think he ever had a true resolution.
because we didn't solve all the mysteries, right? We
No.
would have one big bad. Like Lilith was the first big bad, and they defeated
Yes.
her. And also, don't worry, guys. Real quick before we discuss the rest of them, I have Zoe's dialogue from that scene because they basically bury Lilith in the ground, and all of these hands come up, like of the dead witches. Because at this point, we just think she's a witch, an evil witch from that time.
Yes.
All the hands of the dead witches come back and pull her in the ground, and
That was
that's how her like end is at that point, or so we think. But Zoe, being the quote unquote 10-year-old, she's much older than that. And
Yes.
we don't really go into explanation about that either, really, except for for her to give birth to Antichrist,
The Antichrist.
whatever.
That's insane. Yeah.
So when this is happening, Zoe can't stop making jokes, and so granted, okay, remember, so hands on the body, pulling it down, and Zoe says, unless they couldn't wait to get their hands on her, Like, oh, that's not funny. Somebody should give her a hand. Zoe.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to hand it to her. And she does this throughout the book about different things. Like, someone drove into the back of a logging truck. And so Zoe says, and died to regret it. Kissed by the big log. I knew she would. So good.
Yes.
Anyways,
She's
that's my little. I couldn't talk about this book and not mention how brilliant Zoe is. So, anyways, Lilith is the first bad. We defeat her, and she comes back, of course, and she's like, "Hey, BT Dubs, I'm not just a witch. I'm Lilith, the first woman, and actually, we need to go defeat Malice.
and
This
we're
is
sisters.
really important."
Like,
Oh,
no
wait.
big deal.
Also, we're
There's
sisters.
more twists than that too. Jet, you're not only just coming back from the dead, you're also the reincarnation of my boyfriend.
Which is still
What's
weird
his
because he's 15 and she's 9.
Josh?
So he wasn't really even
Is that
her
his name?
boyfriend. James.
James.
Because it's Mary Scott and James Scott, I'm assuming is his last name. Because Mary
Yeah,
was his.
because all the women that were brought up, except for or that were brought back to life, with the exception of Rachel, were just we're alive during that witch trial
that
thing.
time period. Yeah.
And then Rachel herself was more than that because her ability to die, her and Lilith, has been taken away by God, and so she's doomed to be reborn over and over and over again. Except for Rachel decided she doesn't remember anything. So each time she's revived, she doesn't remember. Lilith doesn't. She always remembers.
Okay,
Yeah.
Quick aside. This is gonna sound terrible, but that reminded me of the movie Hancock with Will Smith, because him and Charlize Theron, they
What?
would like, because they were like angels or something, and but they couldn't be together, and like every time they died or one or the other died, he would never remember, but she always remembered. Sorry,
I thought it was a superhero movie.
But no, that's
No.
the plot of Hawkman and Hawkgirl.
Oh wait, the Flash.
Yeah, the Flash / the
Yay!
Arrow / Legends of Tomorrow, and
Yes,
sometimes in the
that's
comics
right.
because Hawkman.
Well, yeah, in the comic books, they're a reincarnation of
great.
the Egyptians.
Oh, I love how we can make all these connections, guys. This is great. This is why this is such a great book.
All right.
Well, and then there's another twist too with Rachel's back. Like the first time we see her, like she's remembering who she is.
Mm-hmm.
She thinks she's a lot older than what she was, but it turns out that she wasn't. She was really a 9-year-old girl.
Yeah, that was weird too.
And that Lilith, in this memory, Lilith is her sister. And I was like, okay, cool. I think I'm a little confused now.
I think that was just her like figuring out all those memories because at that
Yes.
point she didn't have a very strong memory of that time, and everything became a lot more clear once she received memories of all of her past lives, because that was the big issue as well. So she starts out, she starts to see visions of being a witch, those times, right? And there's little hints of her calling Lilith sister and Lilith calling her sister, but she doesn't remember that. She only remembers that last, I guess, not really even last go around, but that particular go around, which is a nice little like red herring. It's like, okay, well, here's this. Oh, surprise! But even like, so they defeat the what's his name? Malice. I don't know. Who's like a demon
Latin for
who
bad.
is taking over different people's bodies, and his goal is to eventually get Zoe pregnant and have her give birth to the Antichrist, which we see in visions happening. She's worried about happening. He's one of her, like, she is one of his descendants. He's been playing this a very, very long time, trying to find a viable descendant, because all of his descendants end up being like evil.
Like, yes. Or men.
Yes.
I mean, Jack the Ripper. Like,
yeah,
Oh,
except
that
that
is
Jack
true.
Dipper was one as well.
Like
Yeah.
the sword, like eventually
Satan's
he
sword.
turns it into a butter knife or a bread knife or something.
she
But I
uses
love
slice. That's how
when
she does it.
Rachel touches it, like she sees like all the flashbacks of like, it's Lucifer's sword, like Hitler donned that sword. And
Yeah.
then this little girl's just carrying it like it's nothing, and Rachel's like, who are you?
Yep.
Like,
But they do such a good job of accepting her, because basically we learn at that point that she is a far off descendant from Malice.
Yep.
destined to carry the child or whatever, because he's been laying his seed, hoping that one day he'll find a viable option. They'll give birth to the Antichrist, yada, yada, yada. And each of them has an evil within them that makes them do those evil things, i.e.,
Yeah.
Jack the Ripper, Hitler, Zoe. Um, but Zoe finds a family that's like, hey, we love you. You can kill things sometimes. And she's like, okay, great. And I'm like, that's wonderful.
Well, they give her
Yeah.
some kind of rules, like you not kill people, but just bad things.
Yes.
Yeah, they have to be bad people.
Right.
But
But then she randomly runs into one of her old classmates who was like, "Hey, you're Zoe, aren't you?" And she's like, "Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you a teacher?" And he was like, "No, we went to school
Her
together. You
classmate.
haven't aged a day." And she's like, "Hey, give me a ride." And then she kills him in his car.
Yeah. I was worried she was gonna do that to the old ladies who lived across the street too.
Oh, and
Lillian
I love that
and
story. That kind of went
Yeah.
nowhere, but still, it was pretty.
Well, again, another loose end that needs to be tied up. What happened? Why does it matter that they knew her? And I thought she was gonna kill him. I really did. I just thought it was gonna happen.
Well, it was weird because I didn't think anybody could see Lilith at first, right? And then people started seeing her. Because anytime
Exactly.
somebody said, "Hey, who's that girl? What girl are you talking about?" I don't see anybody. And then later on, the neighbors, Lillian and her, I don't know, her lover or her friend, her sister,
Yeah.
whatever, whoever she was, run over and they're like, "Hey, that girl looks familiar." And it turns out that she was the one that saved her dad's company from going bankrupt
Oh yeah, that's right.
back in the 40s and things like that.
Yeah.
There was also a character of like the book author that had a big mansion and he had Julio was cleaning his yard and there was a little girl that appeared on his fence, but that never went anywhere.
Oh, because he had bodies buried underneath there, right? And that
yeah.
was
We assume maybe?
we assumed that he had bodies because I thought that little girl was a ghost, maybe
Yeah.
or something. I don't remember.
Honestly,
It's like,
I will say,
Okay.
yeah, it's this little girl right here that she just sits there and like watches it, but it never
Yep.
really gets into detail as to what it is. I feel like the book could have ended, like it could have been half as thick, and you could have ended
Probably.
it with a good ending.
yeah.
But it feels like it kept going, and I guess we can go ahead and talk about the ending. And it kept going too long that a lot of things get unresolved, and
Yes.
I don't think I was happy with that. I feel like the ending was, I was unsatisfied. I wasn't left with,
Yeah.
okay, this makes sense. I think like most people that read this, I was like, oh, that's it? Oh shit, there's got to be more. Oh no, it's just 40 pages of just the covers.
Yeah.
Cover art. Yeah.
That's it. Where's the rest of the story? And that's the way I remember reading it the first time when I read it in trade paperback format. That
Yeah.
I felt like surely there's got to be more because he went, like literally, they defeat Lilith. Or no, sorry, Malice. They defeat
Yeah.
Malice.
Malice.
But
And
it
then they
just
go look for her killer.
right.
They
Okay,
look
so
for
let's
a
talk
killer.
about that because that's
Yeah.
what started the story, right? She knew
Yeah.
that somebody killed her, but she didn't know who it was. So every once in a while, maybe like once every 200 or 250 pages, they might bring it up. Like Aunt Johnny's like, "Hey, I'm still looking for your serial killer." Oh, awesome! Yeah, I forgot because of all the fucking witches that was important.
Yeah, it was important. And it's so
Yeah.
crazy because her killer ends up being someone who we see like way in the beginning of the story that Lilith kills, right?
Or she
Or
tried
no,
to kill.
Malice kills. Malice kills.
It was Malice that had taken over that
Yeah.
guy's
Over
body,
that guy's
and
body.
the guy's wife was cheating on him
Grew in on. Yeah.
with this
Yeah,
guy.
it was weird.
I mean, I get it. He's trying to make connections, but that was almost, well, I don't want to say Cloud Atlas bad, but it was just came out of nowhere. Like, I'm gonna, like, because she said,
Honestly,
I feel betrayed by this person. that-
yes. I thought it was gonna be Earl, and I was gonna get real upset.
Yeah, I
Because
did.
Yeah.
I did
But-
think it was gonna be
And I
Earl.
think
like,
that would have
it's
been
like
really
a
cool
cop
and
came out of nowhere.
devastating.
Maybe
It
if there
would
was
have been.
flashbacks of him being a crossing guard at her school, I would have been like, oh, it's the crossing guard. Oh, that's fucked up. Of course he's betrayed. But it was just
Yeah.
some guy. And then they had a
Yeah.
random flashback of like,
Them
you know,
interacting
hey,
with each other.
you're Rachel. And yeah, it was weird. So yeah, she confronts him. And I'll let you ladies talk while I show the panels as he's
Yeah.
on his deathbed, I guess.
Yeah, because I guess whatever Malice did to him left him pretty much in like a not a coma, almost a comatose state, right? And he's basically can't move, anything like that. And she comes in, she tells his wife to eat her hair, because remember, she's a witch.
Yeah, she's a witch.
She's a witch. So she goes in and she says, "Do you remember me?" And then he has a gun and he shoots her.
That's what I was like. What? Oh,
And
he's a
so,
cop.
and I was
Okay,
like,
that
"Oh,
makes
she's gonna
sense.
die now," because you see Mama Lie, that's what I call her.
Yeah, so she
Hard to
is
pronounce
this
the
lady
name.
right
I'm not
here,
good
is
at
the
Latin.
personification of death.
Mm-hmm.
The angel of death, yeah.
And she comes to you and walks you, turns you into mist or some bullshit, right? And then that's where the story kind of ends, and you're like, "What?
Well,
Rachel dies for good?
Yeah,
That sucks." And then
well,
you turn
and then
one more page, and they're like, "Hey, by the way, Malice said there's 7 children,
yeah.
and we got to go kill them all."
And then
Right.
just ended the book.
Rachel wakes
yeah,
up.
that was it. So now we don't know what the next. I mean, it sets up a great addition. We can keep going, but I
And
mean, I read
the last line is "damn it," and that's the way I felt. Damn it.
that's exactly how I felt too. And I've read an article. He did an interview in 2017, and he said it is unfinished, and he would like to finish, but maybe not in this format. And so that leads me to believe that I know, like, maybe there were talks about a TV show and it never panned out. This sounds like a great TV show concept for Netflix or HBO or someone. Not basic cable. It has to
No.
be on video.
There were there were talks about making a TV show, and they were in the process of making the script.
Mhm.
And I have to look up again, but I think around like 2015 or 2011, 2015, sometime in that
Yes, you're
time
right.
range.
Yeah,
But yeah, I feel like first of all, you have if anyone decided to pick this up, it's perfectly adaptable to TV. I think AMC.
Agreed.
I was talking to Raymond in the chat. I think AMC would be a good option to pick it up. I
Yeah.
think that'd be very interesting. They did it, you know. I,
They did
I know people
Preacher.
have problems with Walking Dead, but Preacher. I mean, I've read
Yeah.
the Preacher comics, but watching the show, I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
HBO would be great. Showtime.
Wait, have you read Preacher?
No, I've just watched the
No.
show.
That's why you're happy with it. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. Well, but
Well.
I think there's a lot of good content in this book, and I think a TV show would give you the opportunity to change some things that should be changed. Like her killer. The rest I really like. And I would like more. It gives you enough content that you could have some extra episodes in that aren't part of the main story. Because if you go
Agreed.
too heavy in the main story, it can be too much for watchers. But you have other characters here doing other stuff, right? Like we talked about, those side characters that you give you a little bit. There's a lot you can do with them, and there's a lot that you can do moving forward. I think whoever made Dexter would be a good choice for like a show for this. I don't know if you've watched Dexter, but
Oh yes.
I love Dexter.
Brian Fuller.
I love Dexter too. Maybe not the ending, but the whole
Yeah,
show.
well,
is
it just went on too
amazing.
long. That's
Yeah,
like
Oh, this
curse
this
of
guy's-
anything.
What's his name? Alan Ball or Brian Fuller?
Alan.
Like,
Yeah,
right? Like those guys, they would be perfect for this.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
they
think
would be. I
that would be
Eight and
great.
6 Feet Under. I mean,
6
this is
Feet
the,
Under.
right up
Oh.
their alley.
Yeah,
Can we put Michael C. Hall in this somewhere? Where can he fit?
Yeah, he
I
could be
love him. Put him somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh
gosh.
well, he's a little young still for a guy. He's not that old. Guess you can age him down, but
I think he could be one of the Malices, like when he's the priest or something. It'd be cool.
oh, that would be a good one. Yeah.
So when I talked to him, because I saw him at Baltimore Comic Con,
Yeah.
and I asked him, I was like, "Hey, do you ever feel like you need to go back and finish Rachel Rising, or do anything else with it?" He said, this is what he told me then. He said maybe after Strangers 2, which is the new series he's working on with more of the Strangers in Paradise characters, which I love, and I haven't picked up yet because I'll probably pick it up in some kind of collected format. He said maybe after that, but he would focus on another set of characters. And maybe he's talking about the set of characters that appeared, because we get introduced to a bunch of characters in here that don't amount to anything. Like we said, they just kind of are in the background. They get built up, and then you're like, what was the purpose of that? So maybe he's talking about them, and then maybe he will include Rachel and Jet in some kind of way. But I'd love to see what happens to
That's
Zoe.
not what I want.
But I don't think like that's not what I want. I mean, so not that it matters what we want, right? Like I guess what he wants to do, but
Correct. It doesn't matter
I
what
don't
you want. Look at
I don't
episodes
see a
1, 2,
whole
and 3.
I don't see a whole show being built around like Aunt Johnny. I love her; she's a great supporting character, but I don't see a whole show being
I don't think it would.
like
I don't think I'm talking
Detective
like
Corporal.
like the two old ladies, like Lillian when they were young, something like that. Something obscure like that.
We're talking about going.
And honestly, I would kind of be okay with that if he made it into like a trilogy. Focus on the past, and then maybe what happens to the rest of the characters later on. I don't know. I would like to. I would like to see some kind of continuation of the story.
Well, if
Maybe
they
all of Mouse's. Sorry, go ahead.
well, what if they did like one of the other 7 children?
Yeah.
Now that would be interesting.
That'd be
One of
okay.
the other 7 children.
Okay.
Obviously, someone like Alan Ball can write like a character who does bad things, like Dexter, a serial killer, but you can feel for them and want them to win. And so we could do that with one of the 7 children. Because we like Zoe, even though she's a little turd bucket sometimes. But
I don't care. She kills.
I know.
Do whatever you want, girl.
Oh, but yeah,
Well, I didn't like
I loved
that.
I
her
think that'd be
and
cool.
Lilith. Both of them were great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I thought Lilith farming in that field, making those ambrosia flowers or whatever.
And then she's like, "Well, I mean, I was like the first gardener," because they're like, "What? No, you can garden." She's like, "Yeah, I was in the Garden of Eden. That was
Maybe
me."
Terry Moore was just so much smarter than we were. He was like, "Oh man, he knows all his world religions," and
Yes,
he just leaves us to assume. I do love the part where she was daydreaming about hentai and tentacles, and she's dressed as a Japanese
really-
schoolgirl. I was like,
Yeah.
"What?"
Well, yeah, because Zoe ate or bothered the plant.
see if I can
That's the
find that
hentai
panel.
plant.
The hentai, yeah, and I was like, hentai plant? What?
I immediately
Zoe,
thought
and I
of
was like,
Maddie. I'm
no.
like, "Oh, a
But
sheep
luckily,
on
they
it."
didn't go too far with it. But I was like, "Do not do this to Zoe. I know that she's actually like 80 years old and not 10, but we're not doing this."
But it's so weird because they mention like, well, whatever she's into.
Well, I
Which,
think
honestly,
the best part
Zoe
is when
probably
Lilith
is.
like, well, you know, it gets lonely sometimes or something like that. Yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
I love that she looks like an anime character getting molested by tentacles, right? So then Lilith is like, yeah, it gets lonely sometimes, and then like Rachel's like, that's gross. You think you could give me some of those plants?
Gross. Are you
that was
saying that
funny.
female pleasure is gross? She needs to get
No,
it on
that's what she
sometimes. She
says.
doesn't always have
She
a guy
says-
around.
I'm quoting Rachel. She says that stuff's nasty.
Yeah,
and
it
she
is nasty.
And then she says, "Do you have any more?" That's what I was quoting. And
Yes.
then Lilith is like, "Grow your own." But yeah, I thought that was an interesting way to like try to kill off Zoe. I'm like, what? She was just daydreaming about tentacle porn. How are we gonna kill her off?
Tentacle porn, and she wanted to slit her throat.
That was a pretty interesting, disturbing scene. She kept looking at an image of herself in a deer, right?
That deer. Yeah, I didn't want her to kill the deer. I was kind of hoping that would get away, but of course that didn't happen.
Yeah. So, what would you at least rate this book?
Okay, so
Out of 10, what would you rate it?
I would probably give it.
Keep in mind, like, let's just
probably
say that
give
this is it. This is all you get.
Yes.
So let's keep that
Okay,
in mind.
I would probably give it an 8 out of 10, and only because of the ending. That I was hoping that some things would be tied up and that there would be more resolved. So, but I loved the characters and I loved the plot. I thought how it went through was nice. How he did the entire plot was nicely done, and so that I will give it an 8 out of 10. But yeah, I won't give it a full 10 out of 10 because the ending could have been better for me.
Maddie.
I would give it a 9.5. Just for the ending, because I honestly, I loved every part of this. I inhaled this whole series. It resonated with me on a level a lot of other books don't, and it felt so different from a lot of other comics that I've read. So, minus the fact that it's super definitely unfinished Terry Moore.
Yeah.
Obviously, I love it.
Clearly.
I loved every part of it. It definitely felt like a book that was meant for me, and I feel like a lot of Buffy watchers, people that are in Buffy, Veronica Mars, iZombie, those type of shows, I really think you're missing out if you don't pick up Rachel Rising.
Yeah, I agree with that. As Buffy fans over here, we
Yeah.
we love it. Power Buffy.
It definitely has a strong like female protagonist. I really dug that about this. It's a book that I literally couldn't put down. Like I wanted more as the trade paperbacks were coming. So I think the series started in 2011, if I'm not mistaken, and then it kind of ended
That's
in
right.
2020. We got
13.
the omnibus in 2017. So, um, I don't know. It's a hard. It's hard because I loved it. I loved every aspect of it. Um, I love the art. I mean, he is really good at writing women. I mean, if you guys haven't read Strangers in Paradise, you'll see what I mean. He deals with a lot of things in there, like, that most most male writers are afraid to touch. Uh, However, if I were to rate this as a complete story, where where it kind a lot of the times when I watch movies and when I watch TV shows, it all depends on that ending, right? Like the ending
Mhm.
of Lost is what defined the show. Like, is this going to be a great show? Is it going to be phenomenal, or is it going to be shit? Right? The ending is what mattered. So that same matter, like the same thing, like The Sopranos or 6 Feet Under or The Wire, whatever the greatest shows may be, it all comes down to that ending. And to me, the ending I felt really unsatisfied with. So, I mean, honestly, I would give it a better grade if he had finished it with kind of what he wanted to finish it, maybe. Because I have to give it to the guy. He was self-publishing, so I mean,
Yeah, that's
the
awesome.
guy, Abstract Studios. I mean, that's his own place. Like he decided not to take it to Image, not to take it to Dark Horse, to any of these independent companies. He did it himself with his wife. So I mean, a solid 7 out of 10 for me. It's not
Oh,
the
all
best
around.
Terry Moore I've read. By far, though, the best art by Terry Moore. Absolutely the best artwork by Terry Moore. And out of the things that we've read so far, this is probably my least favorite one that I've read so far. I'm sorry, reread.
Reread. Oh well, I appreciate the fact that it wasn't horror and it's not going to give me nightmares. So I enjoyed that. I could put it down and go to bed at night and keep reading. I didn't have to
I
read it during the daytime so I could forget about it.
and I feel guilty saying that because this is the one that has the strongest like women protagonists because it's all about female power. The entire story is about female, and like there's several lines of dialogue in here about when women get the urge to kill, that will be the downfall of humanity and things like that. I thought that was
Yeah,
really cool.
great
But like I
line.
said, I think it just had a weak ending, and I don't know.
Yeah,
I think that's fair. I mean, I
yeah,
don't
that's
disagree
fair.
with you at all.
Yeah,
Because normally I would feel the same because I can read a bad book that has a good ending and that changes exactly how I feel about it. Same with
Right,
movies
right.
and
I'm the same way.
TV. And I think, I don't know, this book resonated with me so much that I was like, well, I'm not happy about the ending, but I'm happy that I got to read any of it at all. Like you know, I'm hopeful that maybe we'll get a TV show one day. It just seems like with all the new comic book shows we're getting,
it'll
this would
be
be an
hard.
obvious, easy pull
Yeah,
for that.
Yeah.
Um,
and now there's
also,
platforms too, so it's not like
oh
it
yeah,
can't be done.
Amanda and I can finish this with a fan fiction. It's fine.
Buddy, I already got it in my head.
I've already thought about it. I was like,
Congratulations,
I
you
mean,
and
I
Walt
can finish it, I guess.
in your fan fiction because they were shipping everybody in this book.
Oh yeah, crazy, right?
I'd
Yeah,
ship Aunt Johnny and Dr. Seaman.
gross.
Ah,
Don't even
Oh
say that. But man,
yeah.
almost.
I was glad that Carol, Johnny's lover, I'm guessing, turned out to not be a crazy.
So I
just
did have
love-
that's what I wanted to talk about. So she poisoned them because okay, so she was the Catholic one, the one that was religious, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she poisoned them, and they all died. Of course, Rachel, Jet, and Aunt Johnny
Come back.
after Aunt Johnny's soul goes into the dog. But anyway,
That was
whatever.
cool too.
Comic book science. But when Mal, what is her name again? The personification of death.
Malay.
Marmalade. Yes, Lady Marmalade.
Malay.
Lady Marmalade.
And takes her hand. I feel like she went to hell. And when I was reading it, I'm like, oh yeah, justly so. Yeah, she committed suicide and killed everybody. Hell.
But she didn't.
But then it turns out that malice had taken over her body and killed her. Then I'm like, wait, that's not fair. She got to go to hell. She didn't do it. So I was.
You think she went to hell?
Because remember when the two huntsmen were out there, and I wish I could find the page. There were two huntsmen out there. One was like really aggressive about like the two girls, the two witches. They didn't know were witches at the time, like talking about their titties and stuff. That's their words, not mine. The other guy was like, hey, let's leave these girls alone, mind their own business, right? And then he ends up getting killed by the wolves too, by Dragon and all the Mary's wolves.
Yeah.
So that guy, when he takes her hand, he immediately like turns into ashes, kind of like Spider-Man in Avengers: Infinity War. Spoilers. And
we're past that.
The other guy walks with her, like she takes his hand and they walk away into a shot. So I figured that was my version. Okay, well that guy was kind of good. He just got killed because his buddy was a dumbass. So he's gonna go to heaven. Like she's walking him to the afterlife where it's happy. Meanwhile, the other guy got turned into ashes, so that means that he is going to hell or something like that. Man, that's the way I took it. But I could be wrong, And so when that happened to Carol, I was like, well, that sucks. That didn't seem fair.
That doesn't seem fair.
Right. So, but anyway, that is our review of Strangers in Paradise. What did the chat think? Anybody that
Nope, not Strangers in Paradise.
Echo. Terry Moore's Echo.
Although we can definitely do eventually a Strangers in Paradise read.
Or Motor Girl, which was also good. That was a short read.
That's what came out after this, right?
Yeah. Worked on Motor Girl, and now he's working on Strangers 2 or whatever he's ended up calling. Does this make you want to read more Terry Moore after reading Rachel Rising? I find Terry Moore branches out in different genres in his writing. I haven't read Echo yet. That's the only one of his works I haven't read, and I think that one's a lot more fantasy sci-fi than this. Strangers in Paradise, to me, like I put that in my top 20 most favorite comic books, non-superhero comic books of all time. I think it was like number 3 or 4. But anyway, that's about love and the outside force that tries to break people apart. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful read. And that book helped me get through a lot of things, like breakups and just life in general. It's a wonderful read. And I can't wait to read that one again.
Yeah, it's in my queue now on Comixology because when I realized he wrote more than just Rachel Rising, I wanted to read that too.
Yeah. Ray's asking, what did you think of the first time that Jet sees Earl's eyes? That one hit me in the feels. So that hit Ray in the feels. Maddie, would you like to talk about Earl's eyes?
Okay, so that moment between, he and Jet, that's a wonderful romance. I really liked the two of them. I liked how they interacted. I liked how that romance developed. And it was a nice little side story with everything going on. I'm still suspicious about his eyes, and not because of that moment. I thought that moment was beautiful and that was great. But there was that weird thing in the mirror with him, and then he looked out the window and saw something. Oh, no. Okay, he took his contacts out. That's what it was. She saw his eyes then, he thought it was beautiful. But back in his room, he took his contacts out.
Oh, that wasn't him. That guy had
I thought that was him.
He had like a scruffy face. I thought that was the guy that hold on, let me keep talking. Sorry.
I'm sure that was him because he took out his contacts. Because that was the big dichotomy of that. Because he had that moment with Jet, and then later on in his room, he took those out, and he had a weird reaction to himself in the mirror, and then he saw Lady Marmalade.
We're just gonna call her that. That's great, Lady Marmalade.
And so there was something weird about that to me, and so I was like, "There's something more to this guy," and it would make sense.
This is the part I thought you were talking about. This guy's taking up facts, and this dude right here. Is this what you're talking about?
Maybe I'm misremembering. I don't think it was that.
Now, what you do remember, you're right though. He does look out the window and he sees Lady Marmalade.
That could be misremembering.
And they talk about how long.
And they never go back to that because I was like, oh hell no, that she better not take Earl or Jet because I'm gonna be pissed.
I thought she was gonna take Jet, and then we never saw. So I was like, so did she take Jet? Is she good? They didn't. Why was she standing there?
This is the scene right here where she's sleeping with him.
Oh, so
Yeah.
Oh,
beautiful.
super sweet. And
And
he's
then
such a big guy, right?
he gets up from that, right? What happens?
Yeah.
Sorry.
He goes
So
to the window.
I know everybody's watching this show, supposed to be talking about this, but I need to have my time
to
to
leave his
review
side,
this.
which is adorable.
Oh,
And he's like, I gotta go to the bathroom, and she like gets on his back because he's a big dude.
okay. So
That's
I guess I just
when
misremembered.
he looks out the window, and that's when I thought he looked. Yeah, he sees what's her
He
face,
sees her. She's right there, and he's like, because yeah.
Huh. I take it all back then.
or unless that's supposed to be Lilith. I don't
No,
know.
don't
why would it
think
be
so.
Lilith? That makes no sense.
I don't know, Amanda. I'm just coming up with shit.
I think all I think Terry Moore is trying to do, because isn't there a voiceover, almost, if you can say it was a voiceover, talking about how, things can't be that way forever, or something like, death comes for all of us, or something, like almost hinting at their time is numbered, because Johnny mentions that to Earl several times throughout the series, like, I know you love her, but remember, she's dead. We don't know what's going to happen to her.
Yeah,
How long is this condition going to last?
Right.
Yeah,
She
and
tells him.
she's not special like the other two.
No, she was not.
know?
She just happened to be alive because Rachel had used her magic to let James's spirit inside of her.
Yeah.
But then he ended up disappearing, and so did the
so
red in her eyes. That never
now
got
she's alive
explained.
again.
So I
So is
assume
she
she's
alive again?
Well, she doesn't need the neck brace, but then he did put bolts in her neck. I don't know. I was a
Yeah.
little confused. Yeah, maybe love is what brought her to life. The only part I was worried about is when her body was laying there and she wasn't waking up, and Dr. Seaman comes in and is like, "Do you know the real story of Sleeping Beauty?" And I'm like,
Oh God.
"Oh, let's not do that."
That was the only thing. That was the only scene.
Kissing Sleeping
Oh
Beauty,
God.
wakes her up by raping her, and then he falls
Oh
out
gosh,
the window. So I'm like, Earl, no. Earl's a good guy.
He's
He didn't
a pro.
do that.
He would
I was
never.
so scared he was going to do it, and I was so happy he didn't. I was like, I don't want to watch that happen. I don't want to watch that.
No, and he's so wonderful too. And so I was glad because they could have very easily taken his character and made that sort of thing. Most
Yeah.
people would have. A man that's like that, his stature, even though he's, has this adoration for her, a lot of different writers would have taken that character and made him secretly, or not so secretly, that kind of guy.
Yes,
And they
exactly.
didn't. And I thought that was pretty wonderful. Not that
It was.
it's like
I think Terry Moore has more
Bendable,
respect for his
but-
characters, though, than that.
Clearly,
like it.
does.
And I think that goes a long way with it when you fall in love with a character.
Mhm.
Let's see. I think this. Yeah. So this is what she does with Carol, right? This is what I was talking about.
Yeah. So does she
Touched her.
turn to ash again?
And
I
she
don't remember if she
turns,
turned into
like
ash.
oh, Spider-Man Infinity War. Her body just turns into ashes. So I thought that was the definition of okay, going to hell. Because I'll try to find it here in a second to show you the panels with the Huntsman. Yeah. So that's what.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the Huntsman, right? Like, one dude was an asshole. These are two hunters that get killed and eaten by the witches, Mary's wolves.
Yeah.
She touches one of them. Bam! Instantly, that dude just ashes. Meanwhile, the other guy who was not an asshole just takes her hand, and they both walk away. So I thought that meant that symbolized walking to heaven or something, guiding to heaven.
Oh, I don't know. I never even thought about it.
Neither did I.
We also
Maybe that's
didn't mention how
Catholic
great
in me is overthinking that kind of stuff.
real quick. We didn't talk
Yes.
about how wonderfully the snow is drawn throughout the book.
Oh yeah.
But that's I don't know, it's just a little thing, but it's very well done. Good job, Terry Moore. That's
Yes.
all. Good job on the snow.
Because you never know. I was like, how do you draw snow in a black and white? I definitely.
Man.
Draw
But I like
white.
it's on a
paint.
white. Yeah, it's.
That's it. So, yeah, it was this was a fun discussion. I think this one might have been our longest discussion on a book that we've read.
Yeah,
There's
we
a lot
really.
to talk about.
There really is. I think that's what's so nice about it is that there was so much to unpack with this. So even though the ending is unresolved, there's still so much in it that we can still enjoy it, which is why someone needs to pick it up and make it into
Yes.
instead of rebooting Buffy.
Well, and then
Why? Do
They
this.
picked up Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, which had like one volume and has been on an indefinite hiatus for years.
They're doing that for nostalgia. That's it.
Rachel Rising is enough.
I
Wait,
agree.
wait. What did you say? Like, what about Sabrina?
So the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina premieres tomorrow. Now that is based off a comic book that came out years ago. That's on an indefinite hiatus, basically. It
What?
had one
I
volume.
thought it was just based on Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
No, it's off a
I mean,
more
that's
recent.
based off of it, but
Yeah.
And she's what's her name's daughter, right? Samantha's daughter
no, I don't
What?
from
think
Bewitched,
that.
or am I getting my
No,
witches
no,
all fucked
no,
up?
no,
You're getting your witches.
Because
No,
she was
they
part.
only.
She was always part of the Archie comics line, right?
She
Sabrina.
is, yes.
Yes.
And that's why Sabrina the Teenage Witch. But I think the only reason they bring it back is because Riverdale did so well, and everyone's all about 90s nostalgia, and Melissa Joan Hart is like the pinnacle of our generation, like 90s nostalgia. Clarissa explains it all. Sabrina the Teenage Witch, it's Melissa Joan Hart. Drive me crazy. Sorry, I'm getting really.
Oh, I love Drive Me Crazy. But it was
Oh,
anyway.
thank you. Yes,
Um,
wonderful.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I picked it up because I thought, okay, I'm excited. But the book's okay. Um, but I looked into it. It's only one volume. That's it. I mean,
Yeah.
it came out years ago, and it's very, very, very different from this Sabrina. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is, I'm having like my Kanye Taylor Swift moment here on the show. I just really
Double
feel like
finish.
Rachel Rising should have gotten a TV show. That should be the next one.
Do you
Okay.
see yourself as Kanye? Is that how you see yourself?
Absolutely
Yes,
not.
she's yeah.
But in
She's
this
getting
moment,
in front of
for
Sabrina.
jokes, yes, but never in any other circumstance would I ever want to be compared to Kanye West.
Never, ever.
Okay.
Yeah, they
But we
should
will
do
get into
this.
that.
Instead of rebooting Charmed, instead of rebooting Buffy,
I heard
why
it's really
don't you
good.
just? Is it
Wait.
really good?
I heard
The
it's
new
really
Charmed?
good.
Wait.
Charmed.
When is that coming out?
It just came out.
It just
Oh.
came out. But
Yeah.
instead of doing all that, why can't we get new stuff that we haven't seen before?
That's true.
It worked with Sookie Stackhouse. Everyone loved True Blood until it got really weird and it did not follow the books.
Until
and I stopped
Alan
watching
Ball
it.
left the show.
Yeah, but and I love
think
those books.
there's a chance. I can see this getting picked up. HBO is going to need another big show. Because right now,
do.
I mean, there's
Game
not
of Thrones
too much going on for them. Minus
Westworld?
Westworld.
Westworld?
Minus
Yeah.
Westworld.
And that's a clusterfuck too, because I think
Yeah.
even
But they-
actors in that show were like, "What happened?"
I don't think they know what's going on.
But they need a new True Blood type show, I
They
feel like.
do. They
Something
do.
with like romance and sauciness and whatever.
Supernatural. Yeah.
Rachel Rising is a really good candidate for that.
And it's not
Um,
vampires. It's a different medium. Yeah, it's not this different supernatural element. That's good.
It's witches. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see that. I can see that working.
Yeah.
And it could be
I mean,
and it could be a really good miniseries too.
yeah,
You know,
they need something because all they have are a bunch of like, half-hour little comedy stuff like Barry, Veep, which is ending, Silicon Valley. They need something different than all that.
Well,
yeah.
they've got the douche. What is it called? The James
What?
Franco show, where it's twice as annoying because there's two James Francos because he plays a twin.
Not the. It's like a disco era one, right? I don't remember.
Well, it's about what's her name? Deep Throat. Oh, oops, sorry, forget I did that motion. Yeah, the Deep Throat girl.
But no one was yawning, Omar.
Yep, yawning. Deuces. That's it. The Deuces.
Deuces, yes.
Something like
It is.
And then
I
they've
tried
got
watching
Game
because
of, they've
Maggie
got Game of
Gyllenhaal's in
Thrones,
it
and they've
too.
got West.
Well,
Game of Thrones ends next year, but
yeah.
they need some big production show too. Because after Game of Thrones, they need. I'm sure they are hitting up all kinds of comics and things that have not been announced yet. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
positive. They've hit.
I wouldn't mind if BBC picked it up because their show Orphan Black was really, really good.
Mm.
Yeah, that was a
And,
good show.
and after watching that, they could do a fine job with this.
Well, their Black Mirror series is awesome.
Oh God, yeah. I mean,
Oh gosh, Black Mirror.
So
When does that come out again? The next.
I don't know.
whenever
do
the
another
hell
one?
BBC decides to release new episodes, that's the way they work. We work on their schedule. They're not
Oh,
like
yeah.
television. I mean, if anything, Doctor Who shows that. Like
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it does. You don't know
Doctor
what's
Who's
happening.
like, yeah, we're coming back in November. Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah. What a weird time frame.
Yeah. So. Okay. Is
Awesome.
that it, ladies? Did you all say your piece about this, or is there anything else you want to
Yeah.
add? Who
I
would you cast as? Who would you cast as Rachel?
I
'Cause
thought
I know
about that.
Amanda loves playing that game. We do this
I
all day
know.
through text messages.
It's bad. I was trying not to, like, don't say Sarah Michelle Gellar. Don't say Sarah Michelle Gellar. Oh God, I was trying to think of some good female like
I would
actresses.
cast Clarissa Explains It All. Melissa
I
Joan
love
Hart.
Melissa Joan Hart, but she's no longer. Um, I'm like, who could play this? Oh God, I'm trying to think of her name. There's a girl.
Can we bring back Nev Campbell? Like, can we just like take Nev Campbell from
Oh,
like a
so
while back and bring her back into modern?
How old? How old are
I
we
love.
making Rachel? In
but she's
this?
in her 20s, isn't she? Or
Yeah,
early
she's in her
30s?
20s.
Look at
I think so.
Yeah. Oh, she's
27.
like 30, I think.
Yes.
Sally
Um.
Field. Sally Field.
Fields. No, who was the girl? Da, 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 da. I looked up young blonde actresses because I thought we'd have this conversation. Not Jennifer Lawrence.
No.
What's her name? One girl, her name's Britt Robertson. She was in, God, I'm trying to think of what she was in. She was in the short-lived Girl Boss TV series on Netflix. She played
Oh.
Sophia Amoroso, but she has blonde hair.
Ooh, the girl that plays Supergirl would be good. She's really cute too.
Melissa Benoist.
Sure.
Yeah. Can she play Dark?
Maddie
No,
is-
I'm not. I love Supergirl. I'm not sold on none of the CW choices, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like
Who
their
else?
actors. I don't think I
Blake
want to see them in
Lively
other
could
stuff.
do it. Not that she would, but she'd be interesting.
What has she done lately?
She did that movie with Anna Kendrick that just came out. Not what is it called? Oh my gosh, let me IMDb it. Hold on a second. I don't want to.
Pitch Perfect 4?
No, not Pitch Perfect. It was like she played this mysterious woman that Anna Kendrick's character becomes obsessed with, and it looks like a thriller-esque type of movie.
That sounds like a movie you would watch, and I would make fun of you for watching.
Well, maybe.
I'm surprised you
Finish
don't.
everything though.
Yeah, he makes fun of everything I watch. The Mindy
Not
Project.
Yeah, the rest. Like Amanda and I watch other TV.
Yes,
and you make fun of us. You.
Like when she says she like drive me crazy with Adrian
Of
Grenier.
course.
Yeah,
I've seen that so many times.
I am nobody to judge on what other people watch.
I know you're not.
No. I watch a bunch of stupid shit too.
A Simple Favor is what it's called.
Yeah, Ray said that 5 minutes ago.
Oh,
And,
sorry. I was.
Oh, shit.
Thanks, Ray. Thank you.
what was the reasoning behind that 5 minute? What are you talking about? A simple
Casting.
favor? What about
That's
that?
what she,
Casting for Rachel.
Okay,
casting
that's
for
what we're
Rachel.
talking
That's what Blake Lively played. She played like this mysterious character.
Wow, we went on
Yeah.
a whole, like
That
tangent.
happens.
Oh, because in Omni Bros, you went on a tangent about Men in Tights.
Yes, that movie's phenomenal.
It is phenomenal, and yes, I think that Jess needs to watch it. Jess has not seen Men in Tights. Maddie, have you?
Of course.
Of course, yeah. So yeah, he hasn't. I'm surprised he
All
hasn't
right.
seen
Well, put that on the list for Lexington Toy and Comic Con.
I love that movie. Hey, Blinkett. Did you call me Abe Blinkett? No, I said, hey, Blinkett.
it.
Oh, I quote that
All right.
movie in Spaceballs all the time. All right. Who wants
Next
to start
week
us off? Or is that it?
Are we talking about next? Are we next
Well,
week?
yeah. Next week, yes. Next week is Hellboy, everyone.
Yeah.
And it's
Volumes 1 and
Tuesday.
2. Tuesday, yes. We can complete that. There should be no issues getting that done by Tuesday.
Yeah, the library edition only has 2 trades in it, and,
Wonderful.
it's a good read.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maddie, you want to sign us off?
I'll do my best. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in, especially since we moved it again. But I promise next Tuesday we'll be here regular time, which is what, Amanda?
Oh, it is 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just remember. Yep. And read the sign
And-
behind me.
Read the sign behind her. Make sure
I think people
Please
are already
leave a like
visiting
and
the YouTube
subscribe.
channel.
Check us out on all of our social media channels because not only can you keep up with what we're doing on our social media channels, Instagram, Facebook at Near Mint Con, but also you can learn any updates about the show, what's going on. So if anything changes, especially with us, you'll hear about that on Instagram, or if we have any other goofy things going on, like our Halloween costumes, you need to check out from last Saturday.
You don't have
I
to.
like them. Yes, you
Yes, you
do. Look
do.
at that Nightwing. Look at that
Look at that
Nightwing.
Nightwing. But yeah, thanks again, guys. I mean, this is such a pleasure every week talking with you guys.
Yes.
So I'm excited for another week of Spooktober readings. So
Yes. Our last week, I guess, right? We have to do it up big,
yeah,
get all Halloweeny and everything. Maybe we should
yeah.
wear our costumes.
Let's wear
This
our
is
Omar.
my
costumes.
costume.
Let's wear our costumes for next week's episode. Omar.
Maybe. It's hard to get into that thing.
Just need Melanie to hold it and just pull. Keep pulling it up.
All right. Well, thank you guys. We'll see you Tuesday.
Thanks,
night,
guys. Have a
everybody.
good night.